Miss Simon. So I apologize for the kind of jankiness of this. My screen recorder version deleted, and so I have to do this at school. And yeah, but my presentation is Are You Naughty or Nice? So my proposal was that I wanted to explore how students discuss their teachers on a regular basis, specifically whether the feedback was generally negative or positive, which is why I said naughty or nice, because if you speak poorly of your teacher, it's kind of naughty. Okay, my hypothesis is that most students will respond that they speak poorly about their teachers on a weekly basis, but I predict that the survey that requires a name, which gets rid of anonymity, will yield more prefer not to says, or resulting in more people choosing not to respond, which is non-response bias. Type of bias that I want to see is will the lack of anonymity affect the respondents of the survey? And the question specifically is, does anonymity change the responses to sensitive questions? My subject acquisition was through Google form to groups that were roughly the same size through online group chats, and I ensured randomness by making sure that the demographics of the groups had various different demographics in each sample, a combination of underclassmen, upperclassmen, advanced, on-level, and male and female students. So these are the questions that I used. In the first survey, which preserved anonymity, was do you regularly speak poorly about one or more teachers? And then for the second survey that asked for the name and therefore got rid of anonymity, used both of these questions. And the answer choices were yes, weekly, yes, daily, never, and prefer not to say. So this is kind of the order of operations that I went through. First, I chose a question that would answer the problem I wanted to simulate. Then I created two separate forms, one preserving anonymity and another not doing so. Then I dispersed the survey to populations with these various demographics through clusters because they're already in a group, and so I decided to use them for my sample. And then lastly, I compared results from the two roughly equal populations. My ethical concerns, the topic could be considered sensitive because you're talking about a person in power poorly, but I took these safeguards. The names of personal information that I collected from one of the surveys it was not shared to anyone other than me. And second, speaking poorly of a teacher is not actually something that can be punished, and it's not in the disciplinary handbook, so it wouldn't be a big deal even if someone in power got their hands on that information. So population. My population is students who are in high school. They're of a diverse population, dispersed to groups of roughly the same amount, and then two groups who are generally both active in the group chats. Randomization was integral to my experiment, as certain grade levels may speak poorly about a teacher, more poorly about a teacher, because maybe they have worse teachers or different variables such as that. The results was for the anonymous survey. There was 37.9% of people that said yes daily, and then 27.6% that said yes weekly, 24.1% that said nah. And that will be my limitations. It was actually a typo that was supposed to say never, so we can accumulate that with the 6.9% to total to the never percentage. And then this is for the non-anonymous survey. There's 32% for never, 28% for yes daily, 24% for yes weekly, and 16% for prefer not to say. As we can see, the anonymous survey had more respondents whenever both groups had basically the same amount, give or take one or two. And so that shows part of something that I'm going to talk about further. So reflection, the non-anonymous survey had a higher percentage of respondents who preferred not to answer, 12.5% more. The anonymous group and the statistician have a closer bond and connection than the non-anonymous group, which can contribute to why the anonymous group had more respondents. Both groups were roughly even in size, but the non-anonymous group had a significantly lower level of respondents, suggesting that anonymity does change response to sensitive questions, as many chose to opt out. The non-anonymous group may have had less respondents because there was more effort needed to enter one name on top of answering the question, while the anonymous group only had to answer the one multiple choice question. And once again, the error or typo that I made was net instead of never, and so that may have affected responses. But my ultimate conclusion is that most students talk poorly about their teachers on a weekly basis in both groups. Thank you for coming to my presentation.